do you feel like you need to step back and put other people's stories first versus trying to give RP, you know, in a scene? How,
Hmm.
because I feel like that's a big part of etiquette is putting other people's story first. How do you know when to share your story and when to step back and let them share their story?
I think that just comes with experience. I think it'd be really hard to say and give like a bullet point um of when you do one thing and when you shouldn't do one thing, because there's so many variables and there's so much changing things all the time. Um, like if I'm playing a jokey character, um, I think jokey characters have their fit and have their place, and I think that they could be very very fun to interact with. But if you're being a jokey character and you walk into the medical office and there's people dying and it's really tense, maybe step back a little bit. Maybe go somewhere else and find someone else to have your fun with, and allow them to have their scene. And just knowing like when certain things are appropriate and when certain things are like inappropriate, I think it's very very important. Even like with Robin and stuff like that. Uh, I like to do a thing where I rob stuff that you can't really rob. Like the only thing you can really rob on the server is banks and maybe trains, coming soon maybe. Um, and so I like to go into like general stores and rob stuff, or like the medical office
Yeah.
and rob stuff. But if I go in, or if I rob somebody like in a telegram station or on the road, and you can kind of feel if somebody's like enjoying it, or you can kind of feel if somebody's not enjoying it. And if someone's not enjoying it, kind of work a little bit faster towards the ending rather than like
Right.
dragging it on and like just having them slog through this thing that they're really not enjoying.
Yeah.
It's just something you gotta kind of pick up and get this intuition about, of are people liking this? Are people not liking this? Is this appropriate right
Hmm.
now? Should I back out of this?
I think you could also like read people too, depending on the
Mm,
tone of how the scene is going, and when to back out and start to twist. Well, okay, like are they enjoying it? Maybe give another person a chance to talk to shine as well, because I
mm,
think I tend to do that. I have this thought where like if I see like if something's not going on in my story currently that's not really that important, I like to give people more of a spotlight to respond to that before I
mm.
continue whatever the response may be for me to continue like my story, I guess you can say, or the scene. I think, like I said, overall it just depends on the tone uh, of the tone of the entire role play.
So it's just kind of reading the room.
Yeah, reading the room.
I think that's pretty fair, and I definitely feel like, especially when being a crim, learning from other people and almost like when I first started to be a crim, kind of like shadowing other people who you admire to figure
Mhm.
out how to do it well. Because there's sometimes you RP with people on the server and you can tell that they are like doing it for other people's enjoyment and not just for their own W. And
Mhm.
you were definitely one of those people, Graham, that
Oh.
when I first got here, I was like, I want to RP with you because there's so much to learn from. Because I was seeing you, always placing details, always trying to do things that it was clear that you weren't robbing to get money, you weren't robbing for things, you were robbing to have story and to give it to other people. And
Mhm.
especially when you're a criminal, that I feel like is such an important thing to feel from the aggressor, because
Mhm.
you are oftentimes, if you're the victim, you're losing, whether monetarily or in RP. I don't like to say
Mhm.
losing or winning, but having the other side show that they care OOC about your RP and not just theirs. I feel like that's something really important and something I've learned from you specifically, Graham.
Yeah, I think that being the victim can kind of suck a little bit. um, so I want to like minimize how much I'm victimizing people when I actually when I do these things. So at the very least, like if I rob somebody and they weren't like super hyped about the robbery, at least they can go, yeah, well he took $20 and left, whatever. I'll move on. Um I think it's really devastating when you roll up, you pocket wipe a guy. Let's say that's a rifle, $400 Lancaster. That's a pistol, $160 Schofield. Now you're going into like near $1,000 with all the other stuff, maybe some money. Um, and these people, like, they're real people, right? They have to grind these things. They're not just yanking them out of thin air. They have to grind these things up. And I think I I want to rob people when I interact with them as a criminal, and I primarily play a criminal. I want to interact with these people as like this big bad evil guy, but I don't want to be an evil guy out of character. I don't want to force them to grind for 4 hours to get all their stuff back.
Yeah, and that feels so bad too when you have because I hate grinding in character. I feel like
Same.
everyone hates it. Grinding is the actual worst. So losing money is, I don't know. I always feel so bad when I take money from people, just or anything that's expensive, just because I know that was like an hour or two of their life that they wasted just fishing or
Yeah.
you know. So I know that you, Graham, specifically have played a lot of different roles on the server. You've played
Mm,
the crim side and the deputy side.
mhm.
Um, have you played a civ before?
Uh, I've flirted with being a civ, but I never know what to do. Big shout outs and big props to everybody that can play a civ and find their niche and find things to do, man. But I always thought like my options were so limited as a civ. I always default to go into to doing crime, man, because that gets the heart racing, and that's what I
Yeah.
like. I like to do like these big kind of like scenes of just conflict and people fighting and stuff like that. That's what I like
I think,
to do.
did Jimothy start to, when you made him, was he
Mhm.
supposed to be Sib, or did you make him like overtime in this story because he did used to do the whole trains and stuff, that he turned into a little mischief kid and started to do
Uh,
like way more crime over time?
he always started off as like a little street urchin character, doing like really small petty crimes, but then getting in with the dead end kids. He started going into more overt crime, and
Okay.
that's what got him kicked off the train. But I was just in the beginning of Little Jimothy. I was just trying everything and anything, just to see what it was for like 2 weeks.
Did you
Um,
did you make Little Jimothy
mm.
to join the Dead End Kids or to be a criminal, or did you make him for the actual trains?
I made him because Clayton got OOC time, and I there wasn't really a lot going on in Sisika. Um, so I made Little Jimothy. Little Jimothy is somebody that Clayton. So I like to rob telegrams. I like to rob telegram offices. And when I rob the telegram office, I like to take letters and then hand out like letters that I stole to the people that I'm robbing with so they can read them out
Oh,
loud
that's amazing.
while Clayton laughed at like the saddest these were the saddest telegrams
Aw.
of all time. They were like, I'm your sick grandma and I'm dying and this is my last wish is to give you this $30. And
Oh.
Clayton would read that and he would laugh his head off. And Jimothy was a name that kept popping up in those telegrams. So I made him just for a couple days as a joke. Um, but I ended up getting in with the Dead End Kids and really enjoying myself.
So I feel like the Dead End Kids, at least from what I've seen, are kind of well, and you specifically, it seems like they're
Mm,
kind of a crim group that has a lot of unique and interesting crime scenarios. How
mm,
so is the reason that you guys do that because you feel like it's better for the victims, or are you guys just trying to be creative, or how when you come up with a scenario, how do you come up with
mm.
it and keep in mind other people's RP for it?
I think Verts is really really creative. He comes up or he came up with all the plans for like the bank robberies and stuff like that. I think that when we were being the Dead End Kids and making all that, I think a lot of new people had come in. It was like when the server first started really really blowing up from that recent kind of like wave of people coming in, and there was tons of criminals all doing relatively the same kind of crimes, just robbing people,
Yeah,
pocket
I
wiping
remember
them,
that.
doing all the same stuff, and we wanted to like have a different tone and a different feel from the average just outlaw gang all dressing up in all black and just going out and pocket wiping people. So we just wanted to we wanted to like do outlawing in a different way. We just wanted to be different. We didn't want to be the same. And I think that being different is always a breath of fresh air, right? You don't want to just do the same thing over and over and over again.
So being different is part of the RP etiquette.
I don't think that's necessarily RP etiquette, but I think being different is a good thing to have, right? It's a good thing to do. You don't want to just be the same as everybody. Um, I think part of us being different were was that we had good etiquette and was that we were not like pocket wiping people. I mean, some of us were in the beginning, but I think we all settled down after that. Um, but I think that just being different's good, right? Why would you be the same when you can be different?
That is true. And I don't know. I feel like it's really enjoyable to see creative criminal scenarios, like more so than just the average bank or just getting
Hmm.
robbed. I would much rather be a
Uh,
victim of some weird robbery rather than the same thing everyone else is doing.
that's something that I got from Peppo, and I ran with it. Um, is like making crimes more intricate and making them crazier and making them like have more to it. Uh, I think Peppo was like the guy in the server, one of the people I absolutely adore, one of my favorite people to interact with, and he kind of like started that in my brain a little bit, started that with just doing relay horses, um, out of banks, and just that like that little thing is so much it adds so much, right? Just adding a little bit of extra uh an extra place where you can fail in a bank job. Um because I think a bank job could be done uh very very easily. You take a hostage, you get a cart, and you just ride the cart for days and days and days. And if they shoot down the cart, you just have a shootout. Um, it could just be that, or it could be like all these crazy things. And I think it just started with the relay horses, but then it became like jumping off a cliff into the water, and it became like all of this. And then I added stuff. I like having the build up towards the big thing. So with the cliff, if you know the sleep with the fishes clip, where we jump
Yeah.
off a cliff into the water. Um, we went out. We like went through the bayou. We killed an alligator to get bags for it. We all got like wetsuits. We did all this crazy stuff just to set up for it. I love that build up too. I love
Build-ups,
that
yeah,
build up.
great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, uh, um, but just like just adding more points and just like pulling out RP whenever you can, and creating new RP where there is where there otherwise would be none because you can just go straight to the good part. I don't think that's necessarily etiquette, but I think it's really fun. And I guess if it's fun, right? If everyone's having fun, then you're doing etiquette. So,
Yeah. And you're creating more kind of clues, more
mm,
build up for deputies to catch you, more insight that things are going to happen and more people involved. I
mm,
remember Peppo when our characters first met, he took us on this mission to get Dynamite, Rennie, and Peaches. And that's another, it wasn't just a bank heist where mechanically you can make Dynamite pretty easily. You just go get a hostage and get it. But instead, we had to go and scout out the mines, get costumes to blend in with the miners. There was Anons being sent so that the deputies got even more RP.
That's my mission, by the way. That was
your
my mission.
mission.
I did that on Clayton.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll give you the credit. This was Graham's idea, everyone. Please. I'm so sorry, Graham. I think that's such a good idea because it was like those things. It's clear from the other side,
right.
From deputies, from any victims that are involved. It's clear that you're not doing this for the money. You're doing it for the RP and the kind of RP things like you did with the non-robbable things, like the ice cream store or
the ice cream store ones.
I'm so upset about that
suck.
still.
That would suck.
I can't believe that you guys murdered all that ice cream. And you didn't even get
That's
money.
That's the second time Kaniklo's massacred everyone in that store.
Really?
Yes, he did that. He did that before.
They just want to make their frozen milk, and you have to ruin their day. But
I think doing stuff like that, it gives the law a break from just the constant same few things, and I think just having like that breath of fresh air of just something being different is really relieving to a lot of people. Like me, Reddy was there. We went to Fort Wallace and we robbed Fort Wallace of their dynamite. I love robbing dynamite. I never want to make dynamite. It's too easy to make dynamite. Why do something? Why just buy something when you can rob it? That's why.
Yeah, I wanna add to that. I think what I really admire about you, Graham, specifically is that I know you're one of the few that go like 110% when it comes to build up. When it comes to like make sure everyone feels like a part of, doing something like a bank or a heist or something like that. The whole army, scenario was and robbing was so fucking fun. That each character had like a part to play in it, and they had their own like individual stories of how they affected that person or that character by doing the entire thing. And I think also I do enjoy that because instead of just completely, I think you're skipping if people like just have it the easy way. You're just skipping the entire thing of a build-up when it comes to these mechanics, or because it's so like, oh, you can make this quickly, just skip ahead to doing the whole bag instead of planning, getting to know which person that doesn't like the planning or change it, or maybe someone has a different idea, maybe we can go a different route instead of completely, just eliminating that and skipping towards the end. It just eliminates the entire purpose of that. So which I really like about you, because you do the complete whole package with creativity.
Yeah, it's definitely clear you're trying to create RP for other people rather than just yourself, and I feel like part of the build up is doing that. Because if it was just for yourself, you would just skip to the end and get the money,
I wake up in the morning. I haven't done this in a while, but I used to wake up in the morning on Claytone and crack out orange deliveries so I'd have money to rob later on in the day.
Really?
Yes, that's a real thing that I used to do. So I just have a buffer of money to rob.
What do you mean money to rob?
Like going to like a general store and like robbing the cash register. Like we went into the Valentine gunsmith, and I had bought a bunch of cattlemans and carbines, and I brought a bunch of money, and we robbed the place. We didn't take anything from any of the actual people that were there, even though I saw that they had guns and they had money. I said, don't touch any of their stuff. Take $5 and send them to the side. And we just robbed everything that I just, quote unquote, robbed everything that I brought along with me, and I just handed it out to everyone that was with me.
Wow. So you actually grinded to avoid ruining other people's grinding.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like, man, I don't like pocket wiping people. I don't like taking all their money.
Yeah, that's something I really struggle with too. And I I mean when you get robbed, it's always a bummer. And
Yeah.
so seeing people who rob and don't take much, it definitely feels like when you're the victim, you're like, oh, okay, they're doing this to have RP, not to just get money from me.
I've done that with a few people, and they were confused why I didn't take more. And I'm like, do you want me to pocket wipe you? What do you want me to do? They were like, why? They were like, he only took $10 from me. What do you want me to do? You want me to take all your money?
Yes, take all of
I
my
want the
money.
seed. I just want this seed. I don't want to make you broke.
Yeah, and there's I don't know. There's such things can be so expensive on the server.
Mm.
Yeah.
I walk around with pretty much a cattleman, and that's it.
Yeah, me too.
Because guns are so expensive, and I lose them all the time.
Yeah, especially if you
Like,
die. It's so harsh.
I get arrested after pretty much every single crime I do. I get arrested. So
Yeah.
I stopped having good guns. I just carry a cattleman with me everywhere I go.
Yeah. Though
I go out of my way to get arrested as well. I think you know, I want to get arrested. I don't want to turn myself in, right? Because I think turning yourself in is lame. It's like depriving the law of having their moment. But I do go out of my way. Like I play a little stupidly.
Yeah.
After I've done a crime, I kind of linger around in town, and when people notice me, I'll do like a small like foot chase, or like I'll get on my horse and I'll do a small chase out of town or something.
so that kind of comes to like the next topic. When you're doing crime, how do you make it enjoyable for deputies?
I think every deputy I've talked to really likes the chase. That's something
The
that they all
chase?
enjoy.
Okay.
I think just not. How do I word this without saying a swear? Without pooping. I think if you don't poop on people,
Without pooping
um,
on people,
yeah,
without
I think if you just don't
stopping
poop on people,
and pooping on
if,
the deputy.
yeah, if you just don't poop on people, everyone enjoys it a lot more, right? I think so you know what a backhanded compliment is, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
very much so.
you can
Angel
do
is
so
like,
you can
yes,
do a
I'm very
so you can
familiar with
do
that.
so you could do a backhanded insult, right? Which is a compliment framed like an insult. And you want to like hype up your enemy, and as long as you're like hyping up your enemy, right? It's I think it's way funner for everyone involved. Rather than just like pooping on your enemy. Um, so I can go into I can go into a scene. I'm having a tense standoff. It's me and it's the law. I can do this, and this is the lame way. I can go. Oh, the law's too stupid. They can't shoot for anything. The law always misses, and I always get away. You suck. You guys are awful. You guys are stupid. You guys are idiots. You guys don't do your job. You guys are corrupt. And that's just kind of like pooping on them. But you do it like this. You guys are too stubborn. You guys never let me. You guys never let me just walk away. You guys are always getting in my way, and you're always standing in front of me. And we're gonna have to fight now. And you're kind of hyping them up. You're like making it sound like an insult, but you're hyping them up. They're too stubborn. They don't let you back down. They don't let you go away, man. So now the lawman's hyped, dude. Now because the lawman just got bigged up. You're hyped because you're if when you hype up your enemies, right? When you big up your enemies, that if you succeed, that makes you even bigger, right? That makes you even bigger than your enemies. And if you fail, man, well, your enemies are tough, dude. No one blames you. Your enemies are a little too tough. Next time, you'll get them next time. But if you're lessening them, you're pooping on them. If you call someone an idiot, man, and I think you can call them. I think you can I think there's you know, I think there's more nuance to it there. But if you're just pooping on someone, you're losing to a loser. What makes you what does that make you if you're losing to a loser, right?
Yeah.
And if you beat a loser, well, the guy's a loser. So what's the Is that even a victory? You want to hype your people up. You want to, if you, as long as you're like, as long as you maintain their integrity, right? As long as you're maintaining their integrity, um, I think most people can like take a loss a lot better, right? If the thing I hate the most, man, I'm on the ground and then people just like stand over me and they just start talking trash, and I'm like,
Oh, that's the
I'm,
worst.
I'm like, I'm dying on the ground. I'm like, "Ugh," and they're just like laying into me, and I'm like, oh, please stop.
What exactly do you mean by maintaining their integrity?
Uh, so like everybody like you want to save face, right? Like even when you lose, you still want to save face. You don't want to just be completely disrespected. Um, so by like minimizing the trash talk, like when somebody's downed, they save face, right? Like they can take their defeat and they can take it graciously rather than just like getting piled on after the defeat already happened.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
I think
fair.
that's that's RP etiquette, man. You want to make sure that even when somebody loses, man, they can lose with their chin held high, right? You
Yeah,
don't want
Yeah.
to like just tear somebody down.
Yeah.
I agree. It's another really good different perspective that I would have never guessed to look at it from.
When you're actually doing crime, how do you balance between being a good criminal and having ways for the deputies or the victims to get the upper hand?
Uh, I think um is a lot of it is setting seeds so that other people can do it um uh on your behalf. If that does that make sense? I'll give you an example. Um, so one thing I love doing is I get into a violent altercation, somebody goes down, right? It would make no sense in the world for my character to go and send a telegram saying I downed somebody, or bring him to the sheriff's office and said I downed this guy, help him. Um, so what I like to do instead is I like to go to the telegram station, and from the perspective of a local, give a very matter of fact, right, not non-biased, just very matter of fact kind of detail of the situation, and let people know that there's somebody there to come pick up, right? That way the
Yeah.
person doesn't have to press F, and or they don't have to wait for 10 years for somebody to come down there. And then the law has an idea of maybe what my character was dressed like. If he's a very famous, outlaw, Clayton, they might say, oh, it was Clayton Orwell or something
Yeah.
like that. So they have an idea of where to go from there. But it's not me sabotaging myself, right? And it would be me sabotaging myself if Clayton sent the telegram. It's just a random local
Mhm.
that did it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's not on me, man. Somebody saw me. What am I gonna do about it?
Yeah.
So there's doubt there. There's reasonable doubt there. I always snuck every time we did crime, man. I would sneak away, and I'd go to the telegram station, and everyone knew what I was doing,
Yeah.
but they couldn't say anything. They couldn't do anything about it because technically I wasn't doing anything
Yeah.
in game.
I think the first time that we ever did crime together, Graham, was robbing the
Mm.
general store. And I remember you thought you were tricking me because I was kind of new to the server. That like I knew you couldn't rob the store, but I don't think you knew that I knew that. And I
Yeah, I didn't
kept
know that you knew that.
yeah, and I kept like doing things that were trying to like I went to send out the telegram um before that, and I remember I was so nervous about how to like let you guys know that you might I'm kind of sabotaging this a little bit. I'm kind of like letting the deputies know because I'd never RP'd with you guys. And I didn't know if you were
Mm.
okay with me kind of giving clues. Um, I was
Hell yeah.
I like that. I like that because at the end of the day, the reason why you do crime is to interact with deputies and other people, right? but I
Yeah.
always feel bad, especially if other people are involved, giving more clues than I know they would be comfortable with.
Right. I often describe myself in great detail, and then I describe my compatriots in a little bit less detail,
Mm-hmm.
so that they, if they didn't want to get caught, they don't have to go out of their way and get caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Angel? How do you kind of balance giving the deputies and other people the upper hand while doing crime?
Um, I really try to. I really tried not to go in with a winning mentality, like at all. I think the character I do portray does have flaws to make her not be put in position where she's never gonna feel like she's gonna win. But I like to include, as much role play as possible with Law and whoever. I think it's very awkward that I really want to give more detail and stuff, but when you do like a conflict, you can't really just run to
Mhm.
the nearest telegram station and say what you fully did or put as much details as you want because you are afraid that people might come in and try to stop the scene or get in the middle of the scene. So it's just kind of
Mhm.
hard because I would love to law to investigate it would actually happen, but you don't really have
Mhm.
time. So I feel I struggle with that on how to to give them more to go off of to figure out what the hell happened or who was
Mhm.
here or a piece of whatever because I'm scared that someone would just make come into the middle of that and completely fuck the entire thing, not
Yeah.
by them doing it on purpose. That's just how the role play is.
I think after the fact you have time, right? So once the scene already happens and everything's like done, you have all the time in the world. Unless you're going to something else.
I can't just
Unless
be
you're
like,
going to
oh, can you
something
guys
else.
just hold on for like 2 seconds? I'm gonna put a lot
You
of
can. You
details.
No,
can.
no,
You can
definitely.
check our
Wait, you
telegrams.
can?
Yeah, no, Graham.
Yes. Yeah. Check our telegrams.
Yeah, let's
I do
go
that all
check
the
the
time.
telegrams. And I think people understand too. And I remember there was one time where the first robbery or the first bank robbery I did with the dead end kids, and little Jimothy was like, "Wait, guys, I need to find my glasses. I need to find my glasses." And we're all at the horses like ready to go, and he was like, "No, I can't find them in here." And meanwhile, he was like putting all of
Plenty
the
detail.
details down, and then you were like chasing the horse and like, "Wait, guys, I can't get my horse," and you just kept putting details down, like making up
Uh,
excuses to stay. I thought that was absolutely great. It was so hilarious and it was such a creative way to get that extra time to leave those details. So that was definitely
um,
something I learned from Graham.
I do know what you mean though. A scene happens and you're like not in the headspace to like leave details. So
right.
you end up leaving without leaving the details, and then you're like, damn, I can't go back now.
Yeah. Yeah. And your heart's racing and
Yeah.
you're like, I gotta get out of here. People are gonna come. I don't have that much time, you know. And it's really awkward too to I don't know. I always feel bad if there's other people with me, um, trying to. I know that they don't want to get caught, maybe, but I I don't know. It can be really difficult sometimes.
I started doing this thing, which is super on the nose. I go, remember, something like this is bound to leave a lot of details.
Oh
Jesus,
boy.
that's so cheesy.
It sucks when people leave details. People just leave details when you say that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think it's really important too when it's like a crime that, like for instance, stealing things from boxes or like doing like a or like stealing horses.
Hmm.
I I have a character that steals horses, and I always wanted like because the thing with horses too, it's really difficult to do those crimes because sometimes your horse just despawns or walks off and you can't really tell whether someone stole it or not. So I always feel weird, like, do I RP that it's stolen? Is there RP to be followed up with? And
Hmm.
so the character that I have the horse thief on, what I do is I leave a detail that it's it's been stolen. I hide it somewhere and leave details kind of like leading up to that in the description. And then I put a poster for horse recovery services because it's like a detective girl who's just a really bad detective. So I steal the horse. I put right in front of where the horse was the sign basically saying my name and what I did, saying like, you know, for a small nominal fee, we can help you find your horse. And then that way they have enough clues and don't even have to get deputies involved if they're, you know, not the kind to go snitch.
Here's a big thing. I always struggle with horse robbery because here's a big thing that I believe really hard. If nobody saw it happen, it didn't happen. Um, so I think it's very important that people witness whatever you're doing, um, so that you know other people can propagate the story. I've always struggled with horse thievery, um, because I like the way you do it, leaving the details and then leaving all that stuff. I never thought of doing it that way. Um, the only way I can think of doing it is like just brazenly out in the open, just taking somebody's horse and going, "I'm stealing your horse now, fella," and then riding off.
I think it's also you can go about it as doing slash me. Oh, this person looks a little nervous, sweating, like looking and eyeing this specific horse. And there's certain people
Mm.
around to give them the idea to pay attention to you, to keep their eye on you to see what you're gonna do next.
That's good. If you're doing it in a populated place like Valentine, that could be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so that actually kind of brings up a topic that I wanted to talk about, which is snitching to the deputies. I feel like
Hmm.
recently, there's been a lot of stigma around saying anything to deputies, and it's kind of gone to the extreme of where you can't even be seen talking to the deputies. And
It's
once
been
you're
like that for
labeled,
a long time.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It that's very true. It's been like that, and it kind of seems like
Hmm.
that's a thing across a lot of servers. Is if you're labeled a snitch, that is the worst thing that can happen in RP because like basically everyone drops you. You get you know cut off from a bunch of RP. No one wants to include you in any crim things anymore.
Hmm.
But talking to the deputies, like how do you include deputies and give them RP and give them enough clues without being labeled a snitch? Or
Uh,
what is your opinion on the snitching kind of stigma?
so I think snitching is I think being a rat and being a snitch within your own organization, I think that should be like treated the way that it's treated, right? Like you beat that guy up, you kick him out if they're snitching on your group, right? And they're in your group, right? But if somebody's just a witness, I think the targeting of witnesses is a little bit too far. I don't even want to call them snitches. I want to call them witnesses to like kind of separate it from that stigma of snitches. Um, and as an outlaw, there's a way that you can feed the law information, um, while maintaining the integrity of your character, and that's just by slipping up, right? By
Okay.
slipping up, because at worst you're an idiot, right? But you're not a snitch.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the law they start pressing you, and I like carrying ID on me, or not ID, but like notes, documents, things like that, that would incriminate me, in a certain way, um, so that the law, when they're searching me, I give them the information, right, without having my character just tell them the information. So
Okay.
they go, "What's your name?" Well, shit, you don't even know my name. My name ain't important. My name is Jeremy Pickle. And sorry, I just regretted saying that.
Jeremy
Um,
Pickle.
yeah,
Why?
and then they go, wait a minute, wait a minute. I go, wait. They start searching me. I go, all right, don't touch my receipt though. Don't touch my receipt for my horse deed. And then they go, maybe I will touch your receipt. They grab my receipt, they read it, and they go, your name's not Jeremy Pickle. It's something else. It's Parker. It's Herb Parker. And I'm like, no, now you know who I am. or they'll like press me, and I'll like give flimsy-ish alibis so that they can like poke a hole through it, right? And then when they poke a hole through it, the once they poke the hole through it, I'm a little bit more forthcoming with the information after they've broken down that barrier, so I can at least feign a bit of resistance, right? Um, that they have to like dig through,
Yeah.
right? So I go, oh, I wasn't I wasn't here. I was over here talking to this person, and I don't give a fake name. I give a real name so they can actually go and follow up on it.
Okay.
I think given a fake name, they're just kind of like lost to the ether. Um, but I go, oh, I wasn't with this person. I was with Ed on the train, and then they go to the train. Nope, this person never got on the train, and now they got me. Now they're like, all right, maybe I wasn't with, maybe I did this instead, and then now I'm being a little more forthcoming with the information because they've broken down that initial resistance.
Yeah,
Um,
I like that a lot.
but I think having the resistance is good, right? Because that's a criminal wouldn't just tell you everything, right? Unless you're a specific type of criminal, they wouldn't just tell you everything that they did. So you have to have that resistance, but leaving a way for the law to like get around that resistance, break through it, find a flaw, tear it down, and then get to the information, I think is very, very important.
Okay. So kind of just being giving more clues without actually overtly saying it with your character.
Yes, because there's so much that you can say without actually saying it.
Okay.
There's so much you can say without physically saying it.
I feel like that's a really intelligent way to go about interactions with deputies.
Yeah, I always get the false name charge for it though, which is an
Really?
extra 15. Yeah, I always get the false name
There's a
for it,
false
which
name
is 15
charge?
minute. Yeah, if you give a false name, it's like a 15-minute charge or a 10-minute charge. I
Really?
always get it, even
I
even if even if I have the receipts and stuff. That's the only downside of it, man, is that it's like a weird thing, so it's not like very evident like right away that the person's doing it. Um, so like the stupid little chase where I just like run like 20 meters and then get immediately caught. I always get the fleeing and eluding charge for that. I always get uh
Yeah.
unless it depends on who I'm like Marty will he knows what I'm doing. Bert knows what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Art knows what I'm doing. There's certain people that like know what's going
Yeah.
on. Um
And that you're not trying to be a
and
shit,
they,
you're
and they,
trying to.
yeah, they'll like mark it down, but they'll give you the time away from it. They'll take the
Yeah.
time off for it.
Yeah. And I
Clayton was never snitching. He always was outsmarted by the law, so he said, which is true.
So be a stupid criminal, not a smart criminal.
I think if you're a criminal, you're a little stupid. That's a
True.
hot take.
Hot take. True. True.
A little bit of a hot take.
Just a little
I'm sure
lukewarm take.
most outlaws didn't have the greatest education either. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't think education back then was great, period. So
also true.
really being intelligence fail RP, maybe? Maybe? Um there's something I wanted to bring up. So when you're with deputies or
Mhm.
or victims, how do you kind of let them know, OC, that you're not trying to win, or you're not, how do you kind of give that vibe off? Because I feel like that's such an important thing in RP, uh, to make the other side not feel dejected or not feel like you're being hostile while still playing a hostile character. Like, how do you play a hostile character without making the other person feel like you're actually being hostile to them and you're actually trying to be nice in RP?
I think so. Here's a wrestling term.
Oh boy.
So in wrestling, you have the good guys who are the baby faces, and you have the bad guys who are the heels.
The baby faces.
Yeah. So you have the bad guys who are the heels. I usually play the bad guy, so I'm a heel. And uh, they're the heel. The job of the heel is to get heat. Heat is like making people dislike you. but there's two types of heat. There's good heat, there's money making heat, and that's the type that you want. That's the type where oh man, I want to see this guy getting beaten, right? I want to see this guy be defeated. Um, and there's bad heat, which is man, I just want this guy to go away. I don't like this guy. I just don't want to interact with him anymore. I just don't want to see him anymore.
Yeah.
So you always want to do things that get you good heat, right? That you want to do things that are like hateable, but in an enjoyable way for everybody, rather than just straight hateable that you don't even want to see the guy anymore. Um,
So how exactly
I
do you
think
do that?
I think I think we talked about earlier, like not straight pocket wiping people.
Yeah.
I think is because you're having the scene. I think pocket wiping somebody that gives me like go away heat. I
Yeah.
don't, just take my stuff. But like not doing it and then having the rest of the scene. I took $20 from you, and I know that set the tone of the interaction.
Yeah.
Is like, all right, this guy's playing it up. I think that I think that's like a good way to like establish early on that you're here for the interaction rather than to win. I like in shootouts. I like shooting at the ground to start the shootout. Uh, it screws me over a lot of the time. It really does, but I do it a lot. Um,
Do you shoot
I
at the
think I
ground
think
to let the other side know that, or do you just shoot at the ground so that you lose?
I shoot at the ground to let them know that combat has initiated without taking the person in front of me out of the fight right away.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so I'm talking to somebody. I'm talking to Marty Malone. He's going, "You under arrest, see?" And I go, "Hey, well then you're gonna have to take me, cause I ain't coming with you." And I pull out my gun. I shoot a couple shots like to his feet or above him or something like that. And then we all scatter to get cover. And then now it's like a full like shootout scene rather than you're under arrest. See, all right, pop pop pop, fan the hammer. He's down. He's out of the fight. He's no longer a part of the scene
Okay.
anymore.
I understand.
Contacting someone else is like, are you comfortable with this? Is this okay? Before continue with the action. Um, that obviously that could lead to more of an effective thing for their story and their character.
Mm-hmm.
How far in advance do you guys contact them? Like, if is it right before? Because how do you balance giving spoilers or scripting RP versus making
I'm
sure?
still learning that, to
You
be
can
completely honest. I'm
you can
still
say
learning.
you can say, hey, is it all right if I hurt your character in a or if I leave them like with something? I don't I haven't had to DM anybody specifically about like cutting out their eyes or anything like that, but I have DM'd people about like throwing them off of stuff.
Yeah.
Um uh Usually you can do it like when the scene is going on. I think a lot of people are looking at their discords. They'll see like they'll hear the notification, so you can probably get away with it as the scene is happening. But if they don't respond, you can always just do something else. There's a billion things you can do in RP at any given moment. It doesn't always have to be like that specific thing, right?
Yeah. And I
Um,
feel like it's hard too sometimes getting caught up, especially if you're doing a scene like that where you're the aggressor.
mhm.
I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but you get so into the scene and so into the character that you forget that this is something to do, that you need to pause, take yourself out of it a moment, and make sure they're okay.
Right, right. I've seen it happen. Um, I can't think of one. I no, never mind. I just thought of one. I don't want to say
Yeah.
that I've been a part of. But yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like one bad interaction, two bad interactions, even I think that's fine. But when something becomes a pattern, um, it makes me less inclined to continue pursuing things with you in the future.
Yeah.
And that's fine, right? There's 160 slots in the server, almost always full every night. So that's 160 people you can interact with, besides like that one guy.
Yeah.
So you have so much going on, and if you guys just aren't meshing, no need to force it. Give it a little bit of time, and then you'll both grow as our peers. And the next time you interact with each other, it'll be better. It'll be more fun.
Yeah. And I feel like
Um, mhm.
a lot of
Go ahead.
people
I'm
on the
sorry.
servers, like we kind of work together, a partner. So
Mhm,
you got to be comfortable, especially with scenes that are so intense like that. Um,
mhm.
I feel like there has to be some level of respect and comfort to do that RP together. How do you feel, AngelKnivez? Have you ever been in that position where you've done something and you're like, oh no, I should have DM'd them first?
Um, so my recent conflict scene that I had a few days ago, I kind of had a mentality of not going in of potentially severely hurting this person. So I didn't really see the register in my brain to like obviously message them. Of course, I think in a considerable way it was kind of torture-ish. Um, as far as, taking a knife and slicing someone's hand. Um, as far as I think in my head, I knew I wasn't going to commence an action that would be seriously impactful for someone else's character to be brutally in a very vulnerable state, that I didn't feel the need to do so. I don't think I've been in that situation yet to reach out and be like, hey, is this okay? Are you comfortable with this happening to your character, whether it's torture or throwing someone off or whatever the case may be? I don't think I've been in that spot yet, but I guess when only time would tell. So we'll see.
When do you guys decide that that's something you should do? Like where do you draw the line?
Uh, uh, draw the line about what specifically?
When to DM someone and when to just keep it in character?
Um, if you're gonna do something like potentially, uh, like I said, force perma or will leave a
Mhm.
lasting impact on a character, I think you should DM them. I
Even
think
if you feel
otherwise,
kind of like about it, you can still reach out and like, ask them specifically how where they're going about it in a way, but not spoiling it. Just
Yeah,
like you
true.
have a kind of like an idea of like, okay, I see what you're trying to do here. You get eye to eye. That way, it's not just like one party's just feeling a certain way and the
Eye
other
to
person
eye.
is just feeling, yeah. So it maybe something like that, just to be, concerned and curious about. Just like, hey, is this what you're doing? So maybe I can follow, or maybe we can work around it a little bit, so maybe something like
mhm,
that too.
Yeah. And I feel like even DMing after, saying like, "Hey, I appreciate that scene." I always feel like as the aggressor, um, you're kind of taking almost from other people's RP, and you're putting them in a vulnerable position. So at least personally, I like to reach out and be like, "Hey, I hope you're okay. I hope you enjoyed the scene. I really appreciate you giving the time and doing that."
Hmm.
Um, Especially because most of the time, if it happens where you're hurting someone else in character, your characters probably are really like upset, and it's always good to let people know OOC that it stays in character and you respect them and the RP
Yeah,
that they're giving.
mhm.
I agree. I agree. I think we are allowed to take some few of the viewers' questions that we've have.
Yeah.
I think we do have a little bit more time for that.
Yeah, do you want to start off with the first one?
Let me see here. Someone said, "How much do you let someone else affect your character story?"
uh, uh, a lot. I don't know. Um, it depends. It depends on what the effect is. Um, if it's good, if it's cool, roll with it. If it's not very cool, roll with it a little bit less.
Hmm.
I guess it really just depends on what the effect would be, right? If
Yeah,
if something
yeah.
happens and it's like awesome and you're like, oh, you can take that and fly it to the moon, fly it to Mars, and see Minx over there. And
Wave hello.
um, and if it's like something where you're not like you don't really want to go in that direction, you don't really have to, right?
I agree.
Um, especially with like permas.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think anyone should ever feel obligated to perma over something. I think for I've seen it a little bit less now, thankfully, but for a while, permas were being held in like such a high regard. Like a perma was like the most awesome thing you could possibly do and the most giving thing you could possibly do. But I think if you perma too soon, you've done yourself a disservice. You've done the story a disservice because you never got to fully experience what this story could have become.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's a
uh,
disservice to other people who are role playing with you. There's been times where
mm,
someone has perma'd and I've been sad because it cuts off any further RP in the future
mm.
um with that character.
There's a couple permas that are like, whoa, Baz's perma, whoa, right? That one was awesome.
I
Uh,
wasn't here for
it
that.
just it's about permaing for the at the right time. What was the question again?
What do you feel is the right time to perma?
I feel like the right time to perma is when um your your character your story has kind of come to an end, and the cascading effects will give a lot of RP for everyone else around you.
That's fair. Um I think the question was how much do you let other people's RP affect you?
Yeah.
For me
Okay.
personally, I think it really depends on the situation. I think it depends on how important that person is to the story. But RP is about creating a story with other people and not just acting out a script that you have in your head or your own story. And it becomes even better RP
Mm-hmm.
allowing what other people do to affect the story, because you all have built it together and it's things that you never would have expected and things that you kind of have to play off the cuff. But I do think that there is a balance between letting the story get out of control for people that you might not RP a lot with, or like letting things affect too much that it completely changes the entire person. I feel like it really depends and comes with